Sometimes things are so simple but create controversy without any context, and that is the case with the ESPN decision to roll out its women's sports Sundays this summer in place of Sunday Night Baseball. But, for many people, they're missing the point a little bit. The easy reaction comes because it's like America's pastime, baseball, bros, women's sports, virtue signaling. You could argue, I suppose, that the branding, women's sports Sundays, that all encompass.
The sports world was caught off guard when ESPN canceled Sunday Night Baseball. It shocked fans and insiders alike. But there's a bigger story behind that move, one tied to a once-in-a-generation athlete. Her star power is so strong that it reshaped primetime television. This wasn't just a schedule change. It signaled a major shift in what draws viewers and drives ratings. Few expected one player to have that level of influence, but her presence changed the game. The effects are already spreading across the league. Interest is rising, attention is growing, and the WNBA is stepping into a new level of national spotlight. Behind the scenes, it's clear who is fueling this surge. Her impact speaks for itself.
Sports Sundays, that all-encompassing branding could be taken that way, but isn't it okay that women's sports get a showcase? So I don't really see the problem. And then there's the sensible aspect of it, which is the WNBA being in the slot that Major League Baseball occupied. It's not like baseball's being canceled. That's one thing you have to remember. The agreement between Major League Baseball and ESPN ended after last season. So ESPN no longer has the television rights to Major League Baseball. So something was going to have to go in that slot. This is not a...
When ESPN replaced Sunday Baseball with Women's Sports Sundays, the backlash was immediate. Many people claimed it was political or part of a social agenda. But that reaction missed what was really going on. Internal reports made it clear this wasn't about ideology. It was a straightforward business move based on shifting market demand and clear viewing data. The network followed the numbers, not a message. The outrage showed that many didn't see the financial and strategic thinking behind the change. In reality, the decision came down to ratings growth and where audience interest is heading. The real reason was much bigger and much more practical than critics assumed.
The agreement between Major League Baseball and ESPN ended after last season. So ESPN no longer has the television rights to Major League Baseball. So something was going to have to go in that slot. This is not a case of, baseball's being bumped for women's sports. It's being replaced. It's been there 35 years, but they have no more media rights deal. And instead, you're going to get WNBA, NWSL, women's college basketball, and other women's sports taking that slot. Now, the WNBA women's college basketball is capable of popping a big rating.
Baseball didn't disappear from Sunday night because of a sudden decision. The real reason is simple. Major League Baseball's contract with ESPN ended last season. This wasn't a short pause or a minor change. It left a major gap in one of the network's most valuable time slots. ESPN suddenly had hours of primetime space to fill. That opening created a rare chance for something new to step in. Once the deal expired, a replacement was unavoidable. In the end, the decision came down to market strength and audience demand. With a prime spot available, the network chose the option it believed could deliver the most growth and attention.
Later on, but as far as women's sports Sundays in the summer, the WNBA makes perfect sense as a replacement, and there's even like a ratings argument there. Sunday Night Baseball was averaging about 1.5 million viewers, a little over 1.5 million viewers on ESPN. The WNBA is perfectly capable of hitting those numbers. In fact, the WNBA averaged 1.3 million viewers for games on ESPN in 2025. And when you look at the matchups that ESPN is able to create on Sunday nights here, you can get some really marquee ones. The Fever play the 8th.
After baseball left the lineup, ESPN filled that primetime slot with the WNBA, the NWSL, and women's college basketball. But it quickly became clear that one league, powered by one standout star, had the strongest chance to carry the spotlight and bring in big ratings. This wasn't about spreading attention evenly. It was a focused strategy built around proven star appeal. The network made a deliberate move, betting that one athlete's drawing power could launch an entirely new Sunday night lineup. They understood where the momentum was strongest and they acted on it.
Sunday. The Sky and the Fever, the season opener last year was like 2-something million viewers, more than that. That was on ABC, so I didn't include it in this article right here because it's not quite apples to apples. Broadcast network television is still bigger than cable television at this point in time. But nonetheless, it shows you the numbers that they're capable of popping. And then if you put the Fever and Clark in those games, they're just going to naturally be higher. Then if you put the Fever and Clark in those games against teams with other stars or other, marquee names in the league, they can be.
The latest ratings show something few expected. The WNBA is already close to matching, and in some cases topping Sunday Night Baseball's average of 1.5 million viewers. This isn't guesswork. It's backed by real numbers. According to internal ESPN data, WNBA games on the network averaged about 1.3 million viewers in 2025. That's just under baseball's typical audience. And this was before the league's newest breakout star had fully made her mark. The numbers make one thing clear. The WNBA is quickly becoming a strong and reliable draw in prime time.
So the ratings can equal that on a deal that's not as expensive as the Major League Baseball deal, and with rights that ESPN already has, and with games that were already airing on Sundays often, they just slide it into that time slot. Now the CBA, as you see at the subhead there, that's the big remaining question, is whether or not they get a CBA done in time to keep that scheduling. And that's, I've been talking about that ad nauseum, and we shall see. I mean, we're getting up on crunch time here when it comes to that.
The full impact of Caitlin Clark becomes clear when you look at the numbers. When she's on the court, viewership doesn't just rise, it surges. The jump is consistent and hard to ignore. This isn't random. The data shows a direct link between her appearances and major rating spikes. Games that might draw average interest suddenly turn into must-watch events. Her ability to attract viewers has made her central to broadcast planning. In today's landscape of women's sports, her influence stands out as a powerful market force that networks can't overlook.
Reaction in a vacuum, I think, it's like perfect, almost like culture war stuff, like women's sports being shoved down our throats. How dare you get rid of baseball for the WNBA? And, the NWSL is not there yet as far as being able to replicate those numbers. And they're going to have to, hope that those other sports can continue to garner larger audiences and build. But so there is the branding aspect of it. From ESPN side, there's certainly a branding aspect of women's sports Sundays that isn't quite as clean a fit as like if it was WNBA on
ESPN is carefully lining up high-profile games to keep momentum strong. That includes the Indiana Fever facing the Las Vegas Aces on back-to-back Sundays, followed by a matchup with the Chicago Sky in August. These choices are not slouchy. The network is clearly building the Sunday night schedule around its biggest attraction. By pairing her team with top opponents, ESPN is creating headline games designed to pull in large audiences. The goal is simple. Put the league's brightest star on the biggest stage against strong competition. That formula gives women's sports Sundays the best chance to deliver strong ratings and sustained interest.
It's like the Caitlin Clark being bigger than, what did Nick Wright say the other day? I didn't even cover this because it just felt like a tired topic. Caitlin Clark being the biggest basketball player, under the age of 35 is what he said. This was let me play it for you here. And there was a bunch of backlash to that too. This comment.
Basketball player under the age of 35 years old is Caitlin Clark. The three most famous basketball players right now.
Last season's opener between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky drew more than 2 million viewers on ABC. Even though broadcast TV reaches homes differently than cable outlets like ESPN, that number sent a clear message. Caitlin Clark can deliver massive audiences on any platform. That game set the tone for what's now happening on Sunday nights. Her appeal goes well beyond core basketball fans and brings in a broad, mainstream audience. Any matchup featuring Clark and the Fever consistently outperforms other WNBA games. And when she faces other top stars, projections climb even higher. Pairing elite players creates a multiplier effect, turning big games into major television events. There's also a strong business angle. The WNBA's media rights cost far less than the former Major League Baseball deal. If ESPN can earn similar or stronger ratings at a lower price, that's a major financial win. Clark's impact isn't just on the court. It directly affects the network's bottom line. Still, one major issue hangs over everything: ongoing collective bargaining agreement talks. If those negotiations stall, they could disrupt the schedule or even threaten the season. With deadlines approaching, the pressure is intense. The league's momentum is real, but it depends on reaching a deal soon. Major players like ESPN and Nike, heavily invested in the WNBA and its top athletes, are pushing hard for a quick resolution to the collective bargaining talks. They want the season to start on time because Caitlin Clark's momentum is unstoppable. The pressure behind the scenes shows just how much is riding on a smooth launch, turning what looks like an internal league issue into a global sports priority. Critics tried to spin ESPN's move as virtue signaling or an attack on traditional sports fans. In reality, insider reports confirm it was a calculated, purely business-driven decision. The backlash missed the numbers, the ratings data and financial logic that made this programming shift smart and inevitable. Within the new Women's Sports Sundays lineup, the WNBA is clearly the centerpiece. Its established reputation and growing popularity, especially fueled by its top stars, made it the obvious choice to fill the primetime gap. One player in particular, Caitlin Clark, gives the league its unmatched drawing power. She doesn't just lead the lineup, she defines it. When commentator Nick Wright called Clark the most famous basketball player under 35, it caused a storm of debate. But insiders and league sources knew he was stating a hard truth. The remark was an exaggeration. It highlighted a seismic shift in basketball fame, placing her alongside top NBA stars like LeBron James and Stephen Curry in terms of influence and visibility. She has transcended typical boundaries of women's sports, becoming a figure whose impact drives ratings, attention, and business decisions at the highest level. This is an exaggeration. Caitlin Clark has reached a level of recognition few in the WNBA have ever seen. She isn't just a top player. She's a global figure whose fame rivals the biggest names in men's basketball. Her rise is reshaping what it means to be a sports star, and her influence extends far beyond the court. Even the idea of her appearing in a major film like Space Jam 3, once dismissed as far-fetched, illustrates her crossover appeal and mainstream visibility. Her reach isn't limited by gender. She commands attention across the entire sports world and pop culture, making her a true cultural phenomenon. Attempts to reduce her impact to the most famous women's basketball player miss the point. The reality is in the viewership numbers and the conversations happening worldwide. Her influence is universal. She has created a new standard for sports stardom, one that networks like ESPN are leveraging strategically. The uproar over the network's Sunday programming shift was misplaced. This wasn't a random or controversial move. It was a calculated decision built around Clark's extraordinary ability to attract viewers and drive engagement. The numbers, the buzz, and the business sense all align. Clark is transforming the WNBA into a powerhouse, shaping media deals, boosting ratings, and elevating the league's profile beyond all previous expectations. The so-called Miami training camp captures more than physical preparation. It symbolizes the league's rapid, strategic positioning around a single athlete whose star power now drives the narrative, the audience, and the future of women's basketball.